What's good, family? It's me, Coach 67 Sports TV. Shout out to the awesome and amazing LDBC Lions Den broadcasting community. Shout out to Envision Photography and Video. Shout out to the Louisiana All American Sports Network. Special shout out to our brother, the General 70 Sports TV, the
Yes,
leader
sir.
of this amazing organization. And shout out to the greatest university in the world, the Southern University, home of the mighty Jaguars. Uh, we're going to give y'all a special show for the day. We're going to break down the Wire versus Snowfall. And the reason this show came up is because a lot of people, like a few people, I'm gonna say a handful of people behind the scenes. One person on my brother Jared 11 Green show, the last edition we had of the Black Man's Perspective. Like they've been asking, like, hey, when you gonna get back to, your episode by episode breakdown of the Wire. Y'all three
Right.
brothers, y'all have good chemistry. Y'all doing well. I'm invested in the show. We up to episode 11. Like, come on, coach. Like, hey, we need to the three of y'all, we need to get it going. And I think the only issue we've been having is like on Saturdays, trying to get the three of us on the same schedule. It's not one person's fault. We all have three individual lives, and
Right.
sometimes it's hard to get us on the same page. However, as a result, I'm gonna say as a consolation prize, since the general, he probably got a lot going on. He's shaking and moving. Instead of us doing season 1, episode 11 of our Wire analysis breakdown, we gonna because the general he really didn't get in the Snowfall yet. Uh, the reason I got into Snowfall is because of my brother, my cousin, King Ray, who used to be one of the panel members on Bayou Sports Talk. He was a huge fan of Snowfall. And, him and I got another cousin and even my brother Jared 11 Green, we talked about Snowfall behind the scenes or whatever. And to keep it a buck, I'm gonna kind of give my feelings and my thoughts on Snowfall in this breakdown. More than anything, this is a consolation prize. If the next weekend, if the general is free and available, and I don't have any obligations, and my brother Jared 11 Green don't have any obligations, we're gonna get back to our Wire analysis, season 1, episode 11. We're gonna get back
Yes.
to our breakdown, but I'm gonna turn it over to my brother, the co-host for this episode, my brother Jared 11 Green. The floor is yours, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And first of all, I want to wish everyone. I know Father's Day is tomorrow. All the brothers, man, especially black men that been out here, doing what they supposed to, and it seems like that. Just being a good man is being overlooked, man. Man, God bless all y'all, man, because I know it's open season to um, talk down to the black man, especially point out the worst of us, instead of praising the ones that are actually doing what they're supposed to. So just me personally, I just want to say God bless y'all, man. I've seen multiple good men in general, but good fathers in general. But my heart, uh, is with black men because I was raised by a black father, and I know um, the it's a being a good black man is a thankless job. You might as well put it you might as well put it up there with being a police officer or a good
Teacher.
police officer or a teacher. It's a thankless job. So I don't care what nobody say. Um, so God bless y'all, man. I hope y'all, man. Damn a day. I just hope y'all get what y'all deserve, man. Um, one day, man.
Yeah,
That's all I got to
you know,
say, man.
we,
As
we,
far as
we
with
giving
that,
y'all flowers, and on our respective platforms. We believe in elevating black men and just black people in general. That's why we can't stand to see like black men being put down. black women being put down, black men putting down black women, black
Exactly.
women putting down black men. We just want to exalt and elevate and uplift one another. So, like my brother said, happy Father's Day to all of the black men that's out there handling their business. And despite what the media says, how they try to depict us in a negative light, black fathers are more involved than any other race or group of men in this country. So salute to all the real black fathers out there. Happy Father's Day to y'all. And just to kind of co-sign what my brother just said.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you know what it is, Coach. We going to go into the questions, man.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Um,
sir.
so which show told a more realistic story about the drug trade, The Wire or Snowfall?
Honestly, I'm gonna say the Wire. The reason being is because like the Wire was just so gritty, bro. I
Mm,
mean, it was a real gritty show. It was to me, it was more realistic. Now, don't get me wrong, from the Snowfall perspective, it definitely touched on the crack epidemic. You know what I'm saying? And it's just crazy how you and I we first met at the LDBC meet and greet coming up
right.
this coming year in August. You and I first met in 2022 at the Dallas meet and greet. In fact, Freeway Rick Ross was actually in the building, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't actually get to meet him. Did you get to meet him that day, bro?
Yeah, he met my father.
Yeah, so,
Um,
but I didn't get to meet him because the corner we was in off to the right, I got stuck in that corner when once we started talking about swag football. That was kind of like the genesis to the Southern Baller show. That
yeah, you
particular
stuck. Yeah, exactly. You stuck in the corner with Meredith Campbell and
Meredith Campbell, Jay
Big
Good,
Snack Pack and
Big
Jay
Snack Pack,
Good. Yep.
the Lieutenant Brent Fox. I got
Brent
stuck in
Fox.
that
Yeah.
corner.
Of course, Brent Fox.
I
Yeah.
didn't get to meet people like Freeway Rick Ross. I didn't get to meet people like Nick J and Boxiana because I got stuck in that corner. So, I stayed in that corner probably for maybe like an hour or two. You know what I'm saying? Somewhere between an hour and 2 hours, I was stuck in that corner. So I didn't get to meet everybody, but the show is kind of loosely based on him. But of course, Franklin Saint, in real life, Rick Ross said at the time that he was illiterate, whereas Franklin Saint was actually a college student on the show. But at the end of the day, it's loosely based on his life. Like initially, and the whole funding of the war with the Contras in Colombia and all that. That's kind of from what we understand loosely based on him, and it kind of goes to show you, if you look at the crack epidemic and the opioid crisis, how this government handled those two situations differently. We always talk about the double standard on our show, like, especially like the black man's perspective, the double
Mm-hmm.
standard between like Vince McMahon and P. Diddy, whereas Vince McMahon should be the one that they dragging through the social media streets. In all actuality, it's Diddy, because like the general says, you need a black villain at all times. But at the end of the day, I think in terms of the depiction, I think The Wire does a better job in it, and it really, I think between the two shows is like it's a more realistic story about the drug trade, in my personal opinion. What are your thoughts on that one, bro?
I'm glad you asked. I'm a in this question right here. I'm a edge toward the Snowfall. The reason why historically, it shines a light on how uh the government poured drugs in the black community um purposely and used peons to do it. So that's one of the things. That's one of the reasons why I uh, give it to Snowfall just by inch, just
Yeah,
by inch. And but I got Snowfall for this one.
yeah,
Be
but
honest with
that's a very valid point. I didn't think about it how you know the government used these black kingpins to flood the neighborhoods with crack and drugs and this, that, and the third. And then not only that, but of course, towards the end, Leon was telling them like, hey, we we have midterm elections. Like they're finna start sentencing differently between, cocaine and crack. So
Right.
like that's why he wanted out the game. And Big Dion, he was like, I'm all in. I'm number one now, So
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So I definitely, I just had to go on Snowfall on this one. Give it a Snowfall for this one. But the next question: which show had the better storytelling over time? Did either lose steam in later seasons? Hmm.
I'm gonna say this one is easily, bro. Easily. I'm gonna say The Wire had by far better storytelling. To
Mm,
me,
mm,
I think that's the thing that separates, because my personal opinion, a lot of, like, when I have these conversations, to me, like The Wire versus Snowfall, it's kind of like MJ versus LeBron in terms of that type of conversation. You know what I'm saying? And truthfully speaking, I think The Wire is kind of head and shoulders above Snowfall. I think the issue with me when it came to the Wire versus Snowfall in terms of the debate, I think the I think Snowfall was just hyped up too much. Anytime you overhype something, like, it rarely lives up to the hype. Because I remember when I was a kid at one point, like, I don't know if you might be a little bit too young to remember this, but like the Super Bowl, I'm not gonna lie,
mhm.
bro. Like, the NFC dominated the Super Bowl for so many years, and every year it would just be a blowout. And the Super Bowl never quite lived up to the hype. I'll probably say for so many years in a row, the NFC just dominated, and it just was not a competitive game in terms of the Super Bowl, and it never lived up to the hype. And I think that's the issue with me when it came to The Wire versus Snowfall. But in terms of the storytelling, uh, from the outset, The Wire storytelling was just like next level and next tier. Whereas I'm not gonna lie, like, I was talking to you, but it's behind the scenes, like, bro, like, and I was telling my brother-in-law this too. Like, I'll probably say I was like episode 8 of season 2 of Snowfall,
Mhm.
and I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't see the hype. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the big deal? I promise you, bro. So I didn't see it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think if you got a slow burn, but you get to real good storytelling, it's cool. But I think from a storytelling standpoint, I think The Wire is far better. And I think the issue is, even with me not seeing the hype for a long time, and it just not, the light bulb never came on to me, never clicked. Even with that being said, once John Singleton passed, may he rest in peace, bro. I'm not gonna lie, it just kind of went off the cliff. And certain shows are like that. Like, I ain't gonna lie, like the end of season 5, Snowfall, to me, like beginning of season 6, it was like the jump the shark moment. And for those individuals that don't know what a jump the shark moment is, and you watch a television show, it's just a point where you get to in a television show where something unfathomable or unbelievable or unrealistic happens, and it's just like I just can't watch it no more. So when I got to the end of season 5, like when Teddy did what he did to Franklin Saint, to me, first of all, Franklin Saint, and oh yeah, spoiler alert, I'm just letting y'all know. Spoiler alert for those individuals that have not watched both series and you won't catch it. Hey, this is spoiler alert, but at the point where Teddy McDonald took the 73 million out the offshore accounts, when he took Franklin Saint money, man, as brilliant as this dude was, as smart as he was, as forward thinking as he was, somebody like him would have had an exit strategy, and he would have had, even though I know it would be hard to transport like $20 million, man, he easily would have had that 73. He'd have had 20 million in cash. And when Louis went behind his back and went to Teddy, and got the plug behind his back, and Franklin just felt betrayed and he just walked away. I'm gonna keep it a buck. At that point, I think that was kind of a jump the shark moment for me. Uh, uh, and somebody like Franklin, I think he'd have been too forward thinking. He'd have been, the way they portrayed him throughout the show, I think he'd have been like 4 or 5 steps ahead. He would have planned for something like that. So I don't think he would have been that impacted by an event like that. So that's why I say it was that point was unrealistic to me. So that's why I think the storytelling in The Wire. Don't get me wrong, season 5 in The Wire, it wasn't as good as the other seasons to me. But the fact that you have like 2 or 3 less shows, I think 3 less shows in that last season, some of the storytelling, when it comes to like the Greeks, picking Marlowe over Prop Joe, or Lester Freeman kind of doing something that really was kind of beyond his character to me. Like some of those like loose ends in season 5. I think the only reason why those loose ends didn't come together in season 5 of The Wire was because they didn't have as many episodes as they had like the previous 4 seasons. But other than that, it wasn't as big a drop off as it was like in Snowfall or even like Power. Like after like season 4 Power, like it just kind of drop off the edge of a cliff to me from a storytelling standpoint. I mean, and just kind of comparing shows in that genre in terms of like the black drug dealing like crime series, I think The Wire is kind of head and shoulders above everything else. But I think in terms of like storytelling, I think The Wire is like head and shoulders above Snowfall. It's not even comparison in my personal opinion.
I agree. I agree. And for me to answer the question, um, I definitely think the Wire as well had better storytelling over time, even in the later seasons with the Sabakas. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
talking about the shipping yards and uh, uh, of course
The
season
police,
1 to season 2 with showing how Avon Barksdale, D'Angelo, and Stringer Bell how just establishing themselves as characters and Prop Joe, the kids, with
the boys of summer.
Dookie and Michael, and yeah,
Yeah,
man, come on, man, all the way down to the last season, it had you. Not saying certain episodes had any dry spots, but even in those episodes, it had um, good content and good storytelling. So, um, man, yeah, I definitely agree. It's The Wire all the way.
yeah, big facts. Because I mean, even as down as I thought season 5, I mean, I think it still was a good season. But if you compare it to like the previous 4 seasons, because I'm not gonna lie, it was even at a point where I thought the doc season was a little slow, but it picked up big time. But even with that being said, I really thought, I thought even if you compare like season 5 of The Wire to like season 5 of Power, man, I'm not gonna lie, season 5 of The Wire is crushing season 5 of the of Power. Like I think after a certain point, most of these shows, once they get beyond like a certain amount of seasons, it's like the writing just kind of falls off the cliff, and that definitely happened with Power, and it happened with Snowfall also. And salute to real quick, salute to Adrian Crook. He said, "Let's go." Salute, bro.
My brother Adrian
Salute
Cook,
J
thank you.
Bar.
So J Bar, always
J
salute
Bar
you.
say salute family and happy Father's Day to all the black fathers that don't get their accolades, man.
Yes,
Salute to
sir.
you, J Bar. Big facts to your fam. And salute to Autism Boy Cottage 81. He said, head coach, sir, head coach of 7 Sports TV. He said, what's up, chat? Man, salute to Autism Boy Cottage 81. Back to you, bro.
No problem, no problem. We're going into character and development. We're leaving from story and themes to character and development. All right. So, next question: which villain or antagonist left a bigger impact, Marlo Stanfield or Teddy McDonald?
I ain't gonna lie. I say it's about even in terms of like the wire. I'm not gonna lie. Marlo Stanfield was just a scumbag piece of trash. Like he was a borderline sociopath to me. Like he just was just murking people like for no real reason, bro. Like even the situation with the security guard, like he saw him clip a couple little lollipops and he just stood up to him. See, Avon would have respected him for that because he did what he was supposed to do. But Marlo, like, hey, it's supposed you want to be one way, but it's the other way. And like you murked that dude for that, man. You are sad and of course the reason why you did it because the whole situation with the poker game. You know what I'm saying? I think he just kind of was trying to boost his own ego, but he was a scumbag piece of trash. But I'm not gonna lie, Teddy McDonald, especially like the last season of The Wire, I'm not gonna lie, Teddy was like a super scumbag piece of trash. So even as bad as
Yes.
Marlo, even as bad as Marlo was, I'd probably say uh, Teddy McDonald was from a villainous standpoint. I think he was the worst villain, and I think he was a worse antagonist in my personal opinion. What about you,
Yeah,
bro?
man. Um, I'm gonna give I'm gonna give both to Teddy McDonald. Let me explain why. Cause Marlo Stanfield, he was ruthless. He didn't give a damn. You talk bad on his name, he gonna kill you. Um, but only reason why he was running crap is because Avon was in jail.
Yeah, Box
You
Step.
even saw, yeah, Avon. Even when Marlo went to go visit Avon, schooled the young boy,
Yeah,
told him
yeah,
everything, told his move before he even told was gonna say it. So with him, with that mindset being on the street, he would have stomped on that young boy before he got going.
yeah. And and, and,
So
and and you're right. I think that's the reason why Marlo was able to make a rise because when Avon went to prison, it created a power vacuum that allowed Marlo to really step in.
right, so that's why I'm picking Teddy McDonald because CIA, bro,
Yeah, bro.
the CIA, and then he evil and he white. Come on,
Yeah,
man.
and then in his mind, just think about it, man. This dude, he picked this war over his family. So it got to a
Hmm.
point he really thought he was a patriot in his mind. He was protecting like Americans' freedom and way of life and whoop de whoop de woo. Like he really thought, like Franklin Saint and Jerome and there, he thought it was just pawns and just useful assets. Like he really didn't see the humanity in them. Whether we talking about Oso or Gustavo, whichever you want to call it. I always call him Oso me, but he didn't see the humanity in people. He just saw them as useful assets or pawns on the chessboard.
Right. Exactly. So definitely I'm giving both to Teddy McDonald because he his his profession and his character. It was you know Marlo ain't touching that. Even though Marlo was a bad MFer, but
Scumbag piece of trash, just big time.
yeah, he was a very big scumbag piece of trash. But he not as much as Teddy McDonald. But in my
Yeah.
opinion. So next question: did The Wire or Snowfall do a better job developing female characters?
Well, I'm gonna go with the wire on this one too. I think Kima Greggs, uh
Mm,
Shardine. I ain't gonna lie,
I
that that
agree.
that look pretty young tender right there, Shardine.
Hmm.
I think just overall, I think in terms of female characters, I mean, really, and one thing we didn't acknowledge, Sister Saint in Snowfall is Brianna
Brianna,
Barksdale in The Wire. She's the only
and she
character.
low key ran things too.
Yeah, but
She.
she was the only character that was in both shows. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But of course, she had a much bigger role in Snowfall than she did in The Wire. And truthfully speaking, really, I mean, don't get me wrong. You could kind of say Sissy Saint. You could say Louis. You could talk about in the later season Veronique. But I think The Wire, in terms of like the character development of the females, especially looking at Kima Greggs, kind of getting our backstory, her wife, her love interest, you know, I think The Wire did a better job developing female characters, in my opinion. What about you,
And
bro?
I agree. I don't have a disagreement or argument with that. Going back to the character that played Franklin Saint's mama and Brianna in The Wire. Um, uh, So she did a good job playing Franklin Saint's mother in Snowfall, but in The Wire, man, you slowly find out in certain episodes when you, the season, a couple of seasons go on, that she was she was telling, basically directing things, behind the scenes directing things. Don't get me wrong, Avon was street smart and everything, but how she carried herself, you start to figure out, oh snap, he was getting advice from Big Sis,
Yeah, big
and
facts.
she the one that when things got a hand, she had to she had to get brother moves on from New York to try to straighten things out, and
Yeah, yeah.
so
And you're right. And one thing too, even when Avon sent D'Angelo on that dummy mission, I'm gonna keep it 100. Like, she scolded him. She was like, "Look, you got to have a drug mule in that situation. You got to have a caravan. You can't have just a single vehicle. Sending them up there to get dope on his own. Like, you set my son up for failure." So yeah, bro, you definitely right on that one, man.
yeah, man, definitely. The Wire got that one. Was next question, was Franklin more of a victim of circumstance or a willing villain?
Honestly, I think it's a combination of both. I
Yeah,
think him, you know, honestly, I think to a certain degree you can kind of compare him. I'm not gonna compare him all the way to Tyreek St. Patrick from Power, because Tyreek St. Patrick, he was just a spoiled brat who had a better life and he chose to be in the game. Uh, whereas Franklin Saint, he, he was going to college, and he, just because of clerical error, they messed up. Saying Sissy Saint made like 100 some thousand dollars, some ridiculous amount, and he was eligible for financial aid, but they made a typo, and then he kind of mouthed off. White people don't like to be put in their place. So the guy that was over the little thing, and then after that, uh, you know, he straightened it out, but he still had a vendetta against Franklin Saint. So they kicked him out. He had to come back. Now you back in South Central LA. You're working at a convenience store, and it's like, bro, it's just a tough situation. And you end up getting the plug with Avi. And to me, more than anything, I think he was a victim of circumstance. However, I think once he got, initially it was for survival, but once he got to the point where he really, it was beyond survival, and he really had the money he needed, bro, I'm not gonna lie, you got 73 million in offshore accounts. I think long before that, if it would have been me, long before that, he should have just walked away. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, maybe he loved LA, but in that particular situation, bro, if you got that much money, I don't even think I would have trusted putting it in the bank because of what Teddy ended up doing. My mom always taught, not my mom, but my parents in general. Senior, may he rest in peace. And my mom, they always taught us, like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So I know he had like real estate, this, that, and the third, but I think he should have had some exit strategy cash. But more than anything, I think he was a victim of his circumstance. But I think later on, once he got a certain amount of clout and a certain amount of power, I think he became power hungry, and that was his downfall at the end. Not necessarily greed, but him being just greedy behind the power and the prestige and the street rep and all that.
right. And you can ask the same question. You can ask the same question about D'Angelo. Like, was he a victim of circumstance? Because you got to look, his uncle and his sister that basically raised him were both in the drug game. So,
Well, I ain't gonna lie. Like me, you, and the general said, I think there should have been a point in a while where Avon Barksdale, he is such a huge like empire and organization. He should have realized, like, hey, D not cut out for this. Like, D'Angelo
right,
kind of soft, so we don't want to put him in no compromising situations. Even though realistically, D, him, delete no boy and for the security boot, it's kind of what brought all the heat on the organization to begin with. I think after a certain point, he should have realized, like, look, hey, look, D not cut out for this. And not only that, but like the general said, though, bro, he should have just been man enough to just walk away. I mean, he was capable of doing, just like Franklin Saint was capable of doing so much more. D'Angelo Boss that was capable of doing so much more. He should have realized he had the mind for the game, but he didn't have the heart and the stomach for it. And as a result, he should have just got on out. So I kind of blame D on that one. And to a certain degree, I don't blame Franklin initially, but I blame Franklin like them last 2 seasons where you got more than enough money to walk away. He should have just walked away too, you know.
I agree. I definitely agree. I definitely agree. Next question. Which character death hit harder? Jerome, Manboy, or Wallace, or Omar? And I'm going to even add one. Or Bodie.
I ain't gonna lie. I think Bodie, he another one, you know, he should have did like Poop and just walked away from the game. But, you know, Bodie was a soldier. Bodie wasn't going to bow down. So it wasn't in him. Just like it wasn't in Franklin Saint to walk away. I don't think it was in him. I ain't gonna lie.
You saw, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but hold on to that point. You can't tell me you saw Uncle Jerome death was coming. It hurt me.
No, I ain't gonna lie.
I saw it coming. I saw it coming because especially with him and Franklin beefing, you know, I kind of just me, you know, I saw it coming. Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna lie. A lot of people feel that his downfall was Louis, and he should have just been man enough to be like, "Look, hey, bro, we family." He told off the flap like, "Hey, I ain't going to war with family." You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I'm not gonna lie. You know, even when he slapped Franklin in a diner a couple times, and Franklin pulled a gun on him, and he was like, you know, waiting for your B to come down off that sherm. You know, all you had was a weight bench and a subwoofer. You know, honestly, I think, you know, Uncle Jerome, his debt kind of hit hard a little bit. Omar, I'm not gonna lie, you know, he was gonna go down at some point, but I want him to go out in a blaze of glory as opposed to Kennard capping him in the back of the head. That was kind of trash to me. Manboy, I felt like Manboy was overly ambitious. Manboy brought that on himself. He tried to use old girl. I can't remember her name. You remember her old girl name that he used to try to set up Franklin? Well, I can't remember her name anyway.
Her name escapes me, yeah.
But to me, it escaped. I think, like the general said, as soon as we get off here, I'll probably think about it. But I'm not gonna lie. Wallace did it really hit me, bro. I mean, Michael B. Jordan did a great job, you know, in that particular scene. Absolutely. And then his best friends, Poop and Bodie. And Bodie was talking all this rah-rah gangster tough talk. But deep down, that was his friend. He really couldn't trigger him out. And Poop just had to be man up, just like, hey man, just give it to me. And he just blasted him, you know. So I ain't gonna lie, that it really hit hard, you know what I'm saying? So I'll probably say everybody on that list, it was Wallace, big facts, big time.
Wallace and Mom, I'm going to say with Bodie's, man. When Michael, you know, came up behind him, snuffed him out, man, I was like, I didn't, you know, I didn't see that coming, you know.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, like Pooh told him. First of all, when Lil Kev got deleted, when Marlo and the crew took him out, he crashed out, and Pooh was like, "Man, calm down, bro," and he crashed out. So I kind of saw him coming, and then
when it started, when the writing of the scene, when like you said, when Pooh was trying to tell him to calm down, I was like, oh no, I know they ain't gonna kill off my boy. It just, I'm speaking of in the aspect of the writing, the writers.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't like it. No, I don't mean to cut you off. Go, bro.
No. Yeah, just the writers. Just we're gonna go ahead and kill Bodie's character, and you know. So I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. It was brilliant writing. But the thing about it is, kind of like we say, like Franklin, like Manboy. I think Bodie kind of brought it on himself because Poop knew enough to like, hey, I'm just gonna walk away. And then, you know, you hate snitches so much, and then you're gonna snitch, but before you actually get to drop the dime, You get blasted. I mean, he was ready to go toe to toe, which to me was stupid. Go to toe to toe with Chris and with Snoop, but he didn't even know Michael was behind him lurking, and that was it. But
Yeah, man.
I'm not gonna lie. I think about. I mean, I could kind of see your point, but I think Wallace, to me, head and shoulders above all the rest of them.
I agree, man. I agree. And we going into acting and direction. So, who gave the best overall acting performance in either show?
I'm not gonna lie. I think overall, I think of course, we're gonna get to that question in a minute, but I'm not gonna lie. Of all the legends that you have on The Wire, I'm gonna go with Damson Idris is Franklin Saint. I'm not gonna lie. I think just his acting was just like in a whole nother stratosphere. Don't get me
And Leon,
wrong,
Leon
huh?
too,
Yeah,
Leon
yeah.
too.
I ain't gonna lie,
When
really,
he,
Leon, even Jerome.
yeah, yeah, Uncle Jerome, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. The reason why what stood out that heavy man, dang, Leon, that dude, when when Franklin was in jail and he saw dudes were basically beating him up.
yeah,
I mean, he got fired up and told him, next dude you see, you better fire off on them. You better not let them treat you like that. That was a good acting.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was a
And,
good
and
acting.
plus, he had been in the boys' home or a juvie or whatever, so he knew the game. You know what I'm saying?
And the Wire, so many. Like we'll be here all day. Prop Joe, you know what I mean? Slim
Ring a bell.
Charles, Stringer Bell, Brother
But I mean,
Monzoon, and these aren't even the main characters. You know what I
I
mean?
know,
These
and
are
that's the crazy thing about it. If you look at like the major stars that ended up coming from the Wire, when we talking about like Idris Elba, Michael B. Jordan, Michael K. Williams, uh, 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 what his name is, Avon real name, Wood Harris.
Wood
Like,
Harris.
man, you got some giants, from the Wire that ended up going on to do big things. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Wood Harris was doing a little couple of movies, man.
Yeah, before that,
Especially
yeah, yeah,
during the '90s. But yeah, um, but The Wire helped elevate. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, because
So
I think
yeah,
he had already done Above the Rim before that. I think.
yeah, Above the Rim, and then he did Paid in Full.
Paid in full. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, both. If it was if it was a competition, of course we'll give it to The Wire. But both The Wire and uh, Snowfall had very good actors, man. So um,
So no,
which
no. So answer it. So just to get you to answer it, out of all the actors, who you said had the best overall, just the one best performance out of either show?
out of each show, or just
No,
if I'm
no. I
picking
say
one,
if you had to pick out of either show, which one character had the best acting performance out of all the characters on either show?
Bump, when he schooled, he made Omar cry.
All right, all right.
Wendell
I
Pierce.
can see that.
When
I
he
can see
made Bunk, when he made excuse me, when he made
Omar.
Omar cry, when he was like, "You man, you got these kids singing your praises like you some damn hero,"
Yeah,
and about killing people in the hood, and then he said, I'm wondering how far as a people we have failed."
yeah.
And that scene right there, like, yeah, man, Wendell
And, and,
Pierce did an amazing
and I'm
job.
not gonna lie, Butcher tried to
And
put him up on game after that, but Bunk had got to him too bad.
and another one, what rivals that is Wood Harris, when he told Stringer Bell about playing away games, when he found out that
Yeah, yeah. Clay
uh
Davis got him.
Clay Davis got him, and then he found
Yeah,
out that Stringer Bell was trying to um betray him. Yeah, that was
yeah,
that was master acting, man.
yeah. Big time.
But which show had better directing or visual storytelling?
I'm not gonna lie. From a visual standpoint, I would say it was Snowfall,
Hmm.
from a visual standpoint, even
Yes.
from like the music that they had in the show. I'm not gonna lie, like they had some banger music in terms of like just classic hits all the time. But from a visual standpoint, I'm not gonna lie, John Singleton, like he did an A1 job.
He did.
You know?
He did. I give it to Snowfall as well. Um, and we got to keep in mind that even though The Wire was made in the late 2000s, or excuse me, early 2000s, but that show is still amazing. But um, like you said, John Singleton did a great job. Rest
Yeah,
in peace to John Singleton.
another thing I want to point out too, even though Snowfall happens in an earlier time frame, we got to realize it happened a lot later than the Wire actually came out. So that's why, from a
Right.
visual standpoint, it looks a lot better. Looks a lot better visually. But I'm not gonna lie, the thing I like about the Wire is, from a visual standpoint, is real gritty. You know what I'm saying? It's kind
Hmm.
of like people that are like wrestling fans. It's like at times WWE, especially like modern day, like it looks too clean, it looks too homogenized and sanitized. Whereas if you look at like old WCW clips from back in the day, like it looked gritty and grimy, it like
Right.
half lit. I kind of like
Perfect
that.
example. Perfect
Yeah, that
example.
kind of
Yeah.
like gritty feel to it.
Yeah. Nostalgia. That nostalgia
Yeah,
feel.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I agree 100%. I don't got nothing to debate you on with that. Um, which show had no? I just said that. Excuse me. Who had the more quotable dialogue? The Wire or Snowfall? This ain't even the competition. I'm gonna go ahead and
Yeah,
say it. The Wire.
Wire, yeah,
The
big time.
Wire.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I know Snowfall had like, hey, teach a man how to squabble. Uh,
Right.
with your little minions, him, her, bodies, and brick by brick and all that. But I'm not gonna lie, hey, if you come for the king, you bet not miss.
Miss. Yeah.
Playing away
Oh my
game,
God.
shit. I'm
She
not gonna
Clay
lie.
David. Yeah.
Play this, man. I ain't gonna lie. We could go all day in terms of the Wire coast. I mean, don't get me wrong. Snowfall got some bangers, but man, it ain't close. It's the Wire.
Oh. Oh, Bunk. You happy now, bitch?
Yeah, no, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, the Wire, man, just now, hey, you wanted to be one way, but it's the other way. Just stuff like that, bro. Like from a quotable standpoint, monologue, dialogue, man, no, the Wire got it by far, bro. Easy, big facts.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's not even close. Not even close. Um, which show had more intense or memorable confrontations?
Uh, Again, the Wire.
The Wire. The Wire. Yeah,
What
I
whether we
can't give
talking
it to
about,
Snowfall. Yeah.
not even close. Whether we talking about uh whether we talking about like Omar, constantly raiding like Barksdale stash houses, and then him moving to Marlowe, and them confrontations. His confrontation with Joe, with Prop Joe, this, that, and the third. I mean, to me, I think if you talking about like more violent or darker confrontations, I would say it would be Snowfall, from the standpoint of when Carvel did what he did when he raped the old boy, you
Hmm.
know, stuff like that. From a darker standpoint, I would give it to Snowfall. But in terms of just more memorable, yeah, I would say the Wire easy.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I just off my head one of the most memorable confrontations I can think of from The Wire, and there's many. Is just Brother Mazoon versus Omar. That was
Yeah,
dope.
yeah.
When they were standing out, they doing the standoff, Mexican
Look like an old,
standoff in the damn alley.
yeah, look like an old Western scene.
Exactly, man. That was epic. That was cool as hell. So definitely The Wire. Uh, which show had better overall acting?
Oh man, it's easy to Wire.
Yeah,
Big time. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think you know, old boy, Damon Idris is is Franklin Saint. I think he had the best overall performance. But if we talking about from a cast standpoint, from top to bottom, man, it's easy. It's easy to Wire. It ain't even
yeah,
close.
Yeah, I agree, man. Which show had the better cast?
Again, easy. The Wire. I mean, just think about it. You got Idris Elba, you got Wood Harris, you got Michael B. Jordan, you got Michael K. Williams. I mean, just think about it. Old girl ended up being Brianna Barksdale, and she ended up going to The Wire to be Sissy Saint. You know what I'm saying? And then I mean, you got other like big time hitters like Bump. Bump was in like Waiting to Exhale. Bump was in all kind of other shows. Jimmy McNulty, Bill Rawls, even old boy that was Lieutenant Burrell. He was a big timer.
Yeah.
Bunny Colvin. So all of these guys ended up going on to have like dope careers. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
And they
to keep
had
it
real
honest,
drug dealers. Do you remember the connect when that short old black dude and then the older black dude that was friends with Bunny Colvin? They were real gangsters in Baltimore.
yes, and oh yeah. Now yeah, that's another thing too. I remember at the end when Slim Charles popped cheese, and he was
Yeah.
like, "Cinnamon cost
Mm,
us money. Now
yeah,
you
yeah, he a real gangster. Yeah,
you're a
that dude
real
was a real
gangster."
gangster. Yeah, yeah,
And old boy that helped Omar, like he was the real life Omar. They
yeah.
say, and of course, on the show, he jumped from the fourth floor, but in real life, they say he jumped out like 6 or 7. You know what I'm saying? So, man, hey, bro, like I say from a cash standpoint, it's easy money. It's the why all day every day. And salute to our brother Big Joe
Big
Townsend.
Joe,
Always staying on LDBC business.
always,
I'm sure he gonna catch
always.
us. He gonna catch us right after this on the Southern Baller show. You did,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
but yeah, bro. But back to you, bro.
All right. Which we going into impact and legacy. So, which show had
Mhm.
a bigger cultural impact on TV and society?
Yeah, because we addressed the 2 previous shows. Of course, the Wire had a better cast, and definitely the Wire definitely had a better supporting cast, like you said, with people like Brother Muzon and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we could go to Greek, what his name, Bonders, man, even like
Mm-hmm.
the real minor characters, like had big impact. But like you say, impact and legacy. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's easy. The Wire. I mean, you got Barack Obama talking about the Wire. You got Jamel Hill on her show talking about the Wire. Oh boy,
My
from
Baltimore,
the
I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan. We had, that the hunting we would go whistle before
uh-huh.
the Baltimore Ravens run out on the field. They play that. So yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, from a cultural society standpoint, man, obviously is in terms of cultural impact on TV and society, obviously it's the Wire. Easy
it's the
money.
why.
Yeah,
Yeah,
big facts.
not even close.
Yeah.
Uh, did Snowfall reach the level of The Wire in terms of influence and prestige?
Honestly, I think when it comes to like this generation, like I'm gonna give you an example, right? Sweet Lou Will, I'm a sports guy. Sweet Lou Will was talking about for this generation, he think SGA could kind of be what Kobe was for like the previous generation. And
Mm-hmm.
I think for a lot of youngsters, just like we have the MJ LeBron debate. I mean, don't get me wrong, people feel like I'm a nostalgia guy. I would never make an argument like somebody like Scottie Pippen is better than LeBron. To me, that would be like stupid. So I'm not nostalgia for the sake of nostalgia. I legitimately think. I mean, really, even a while you're like, I watched it like a year ago to the day in terms of like last summer. You know what I'm saying? So at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, uh, I don't look at the Wire from a super nostalgic standpoint. I just look at the Wire as like a dope ass show. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
at the end of the day, I think the younger generation, I think they gas Snowfall up too much for me. Uh, but I think between the 2 shows, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think Snowfall, in my personal opinion, it even came to the point, even coming even in the same stratosphere as the Wire. Because think about it, outside of Snowfall and him on with Laurie Harvey, what major impact has Damon Idris made outside of those 2 things? Think about it. Whereas Michael
Good
K.
point.
Williams, we could talk about him on like Boardwalk Empire, him being
Mm-hmm.
on a lot of different shows. Michael B. Jordan ended up becoming a
Good
megastar.
example.
Uh, uh, you
Rest in
know,
peace to Michael K. Williams. Yeah.
Michael K. Williams there, Idris Elba, Wood Harris is probably one of the most underrated actors of all time. Just think about it, bro.
Yes.
Like a couple weeks ago, I was looking at and I don't even watch, I don't even listen to the radio show no more. But I was listening to with DJ Envy, Charlamagne the God, the Breakfast Club, and they had the Wire like 25th reunion or whatever it was, 20th reunion, whatever it was. And they had Slim Charles, they had Bodie, they had Poop, they had a couple other cats. Slim Charles, Poop, Bodie, Weebay, and I think somebody else. So just think about it. Do we really think like 20 years from now they could be talking about Snowfall like that, but I don't see it, truthfully speaking, What about you, man?
I don't see. No, man. It's not even. It's not even close. It's like I'm put it you like this. Put it to you like this. Snowfall is more like Bill Walton, and The Wire is more like Larry Bird or MJ or something. You
Hell
know what I
no.
mean?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I know you're gonna say I'm real disrespectful with this, but I'm keeping this shit a buck. To me, The Wire is like Akeem Olajuwon, and Snowfall is like John Concack. It ain't no goddamn comparison.
The reason exactly, but the reason why I use Bill Walton, a lot of people say, a lot of people used to say, a lot of people saying they don't know how because of his numbers, how he got into the Hall of Fame, but he was a baller. He was a all-star. He was a good ball player for his day. So I'm saying,
no. The reason why I kind of rebuff you that analogy is because from at least Bill Walton, I'm not gonna lie, his numbers might not indicate it, but he impacted winning, especially when he was with the Blazers, and he was kind of like at the height of his prime.
I see what you're saying. From
a star standpoint, from a star standpoint, Bird, Magic, MJ, they were like the biggest stars in the league. But even though they're bigger stars than Walton was, Walton still impacted winning. Whereas Akeem Olajuwon, from a footwork standpoint, he probably arguably the greatest center of all time from a footwork standpoint. And not only that, he was an MVP. He led the Rockets to back-to-back championships, even though MJ was retired at the time. But, he one of the greatest centers of all time. Whereas John Concack is the most overrated. I mean, just think about it. John Concack is synonymous for being the most overpaid NBA player of all time. Like, he had a huge contract for that day and age. And we were thinking, like, what the F the Hawks thinking giving John Concack all this effing money? Like, are you effing retarded? That's what we was thinking. So, I'm not going to lie. I think if you put the thing with me that I feel like Snowfall is just grossly overrated is because, like, we talked about the younger generation, how they feel like SGA.
I wouldn't say Snowfall is overrated. I just say
I'm gonna say it's overrated. I'm gonna say it's overrated. The reason why I say that, the reason why I say it, bro, is because I think they hyped it up and they gassed it up too much. If they wouldn't have hyped it up and gassed it up too much, and they just would have put in a vacuum, and I just would have look at it in a vacuum, I would say, cool. Man, if I compare, I only watched the first 2 seasons of BMF. I would take the first 2 seasons of BMF over the first 2 seasons of Snowfall easy. It's not even close. If you look at the 2 best seasons of Power, season 1 was good build-up season. Season 2 was fire. Season 3 kind of went down a little bit. Season 4 was fire to me. I take any 2 seasons, them 2 seasons in Power, I'll take over any 2 seasons in Snowfall. I think Snowfall in a vacuum to me is good. When you compare it to other shows in the same genre, I think it's overhyped and I think it's overgassed. I think they gassed it up too much for me. If they wouldn't have gassed it up so much, if they wouldn't have hyped it up so much to me, I wouldn't be so down on it. But that's why I made the comparison of the John Concack and the Akeem Olajuwon. There's no effing comparison. So not only, I think if you made like a BM, even if I still would take BMF over Snowfall. Me, I would take Power. I would take Book 2. maybe to me, book 2 and Snowfall might be a more accurate comparison. You know, when you compare Franklin Saint and Tariq St. Patrick. Hell, I even take book 3 over Snowfall. So that's why I think in a vacuum, if you don't compare it to other shows, I think Snowfall is a just good, solid, decent show. But when you start comparing it to other shows in the genre, I think they grossly overrated in my opinion.
I hear you. I just disagree with you when you say that it's overrated. I think it's a good show, but I do agree with you with you saying that it ain't touching the wire.
It's not
That
even
that
close.
I agree with you. It's not even close.
Yeah,
But the Snowfall is a good series in my opinion.
I
It's
think
not
it's
over.
a decent series. I don't think it's as good as people think it is. I mean, that's my personal opinion. I know I'm gonna catch some flack and heat for it, but I'm just keeping it a buck, you know.
Hey, you got your own opinion, right? That's why you know debates are fun, right? So, um, moving on. Uh, with I think I already read. Yeah, could either show work if we if it were rebooted today,
Hell no.
or
I mean,
or should they be left alone?
no, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think if you, no, I'm not gonna lie to me. I think the only way you, well, first of all, the Snowfall is too fresh to reboot. I'm like, literally, Snowfall just happened like what, a couple years ago, a few years ago, like it ended. So Snowfall is too fresh to reboot. So you can't reboot Snowfall already. It's too fresh right now. But in terms of the Wire, it's been long enough. It's been 20 some years since the Wire like first aired, like 21 years or whatever. And truthfully speaking, it's no effing way. It's just, to me, it's too classic. That's why when they made a part 2 of Coming to America, I'm like, dude, Coming to America is an effing classic. Why are you gonna touch it? All you're gonna do is F it up. And guess what they did? They effed it up in my personal opinion. They tried to add too many like feminist storylines and trying to push this agenda and this, that, and the third. I felt like Coming to America 2 was trash compared to the classic that the original was. So to
Right.
me, I think when you got something so classic, bro, to me, I think classics should be left alone, even though people might be clamoring for a part 2 or for another episode or whatever. I think you just leave it alone. That's why even like House Party was such a classic, and House Party 2 didn't even measure up. I think House Party 3 is better than 2. But at the end of the day, I think when you got something classic, I think you just leave it alone. And I think, like I talked about how they were on the Breakfast Club recently. To me, I think that group there, that nucleus, with Slim Charles and Wee Bey and Poop and Bodie, that little clique there so tight. I think if you got a big enough bag, you could get them. I mean, really, you don't even have to have no killer bag. I think if you got a decent sized bag, I think you could get all of them like on a show or even on a movie or something. But in terms of just trying to reboot, you, even if you recast it with younger people or try to do some type of spinoff or whatever, man, it's gonna flop miserably. So I feel like a classic like that, man, you just leave the Wire alone.
I hear you. I hear you. And I agree. Um, they were both well for since the Snowfall is more recent. They were talking about doing a reboot with Leon and Wanda. Um,
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna lie. I
I don't
think
know if they're gonna still do it or not, but that's
I'm not gonna
what I
lie.
heard.
To me, I think the thing with Snowfall that would be dope is if they'd have did some like type of alternative ending where, I mean, this is me personally because I'm the type of person I like a happy ending. If it ain't a happy ending to a movie, I don't care how dope the movie is. I'm not really gonna look at it the same if it ends tragically. In the way FX set up Snowfall, it had like a Shakespeare type ending to it. So I think if you'd have come up with something like some type of alternative ending, where I mean, I think they still could do it. Where to me, you off Teddy McDonald and Uncle Jerome some kind of way survives. I don't think you need to. I think you could leave Alton, you know, deceased. But I think it's some kind of way you kept Uncle Jerome alive, and the family don't go to war, and and Franklin and Veronique they stay together, they get married, and Sissy don't end up going to prison for life for deleting the CIA agent. I think if you some kind of way come up with an alternative ending, that would sit well with me, and then I think you could you could morph into a spinoff with Wanda and Leon. But the thing about it is, Leon, out the game. Well, he wanted out the game anyway, and he had more of a. I ain't gonna lie. I think his character arc and Wanda's character arc. I think they had a great character arc. To me, I think if they get married, and you can see how stuff played without them being in the drug game, I think it'll be a dope series. But I think you
Yeah,
need to get
especially in the '90s, the '80s going into the '90s. Yeah,
yeah,
during
yeah,
that
yeah.
time. Yeah,
But I think before that, I think before you get the spinoff, I think you need a good alternative conclusion where Franklin walks out unscathed, where Teddy is deleted, where Uncle Jerome is not deleted. You can leave out and delete it, and you keep the family together. Sissy don't go to prison for life. Franklin and Veronique and their child, join together, and Uncle Jerome and Louis still together, and you got the family together. I think you come up with a good alternative ending. I mean, it ain't gotta be nothing super long. You could just make it an episode and throw it on YouTube or something if you want, and then you can kind of morph into the spinoff with Wanda and Leon. You know what I'm saying? That's my personal opinion.
yeah, I agree. I agree. The only thing I will say that I liked is when Franklin walking around like as a hood drunk. Um,
I can stand that. To me, it,
I couldn't stand it either. But you know what? If you heard the stories from if you go through America and every hood has a story about somebody being the top gangster, top D boy, and they either end up dead or being like that. So, and I've where I'm from, you know, my pops told me stories about people like that, and we see them walking around, pissy drunk around the hood. So, um, the reason why I think that ending was cool because that actually happened.
yeah,
That
yeah, yeah.
actually
I mean,
happened.
I understand it, but like I say, I'm the type of person. If I watch a show, if I watch a movie, if I get to the point where I'm really invested in it, I want to see it end with a happy ending. And I think at the end of the day, I think if you come up with some kind of alternative ending, and Franklin walk away, maybe with not the whole 73 million, but even if he walk away with like 20, 25, 30 million, and he walk away, and him and Uncle Jerome still cool. Uncle Jerome still on this side. Him and Louis still together. Sissy not in prison for life. Him and Veronique get married. The child. Wanda and Leon get married. Where everybody you got your core group intact. Everything cool. That'll rock better with me. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I know people can make the argument that him being at the top and everything crumbling, and him going to war with the CIA and the KGB, all of that broke him mentally, even though he survived. Like it fractured him. Just seeing him, I'm not gonna even lie to me. I think he was worse off than Elton was at the beginning of the show. So that's why
Hmm.
I didn't rock with it. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. I hear you.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. I know people could see the parallels between Franklin at the end and Elton at the beginning, but to me, it just kind of rubbed me so the wrong way.
It rubbed me the wrong way too, but I don't want to see Franklin go out like that. But hey, it happened. But moving on to next questions. Two more after this. Which show has more? It was more multi-layered.
Oh, I mean, it's easy to wire. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know you got Snowfall, with the crack epidemic, in the war with the Contras, and the Cold War and communism and all that, and the U.S. and Russia, this, that, and the third. But in terms of shows being multi-layered, man, it's easy to wire with. First, you get the street level, then you got the police level, then you got the political level, then you got the school level. I'm not gonna lie. The reason why like season 4 of The Wire resonates so strongly with me is a teacher and a coach and an educator. Bro, some of those stories that happened in season 4 of The Wire, like I lived through that in real life and in real time. The only difference instead of me being in a few of the instances, it was me having those same issues as a classroom teacher. But most of them was in the gym saying something. I taught both health, physical education, quest of success and journey careers. But that's why I say that the Wire is so much more multi-level, because when you look at the newspaper aspect of it, you look at the school system, the docks, the political system, the street level. I mean, it's so more multifaceted and multi-layered than Snowfall. Snowfall, you just got the war with the Contras and the Cold War and in crack epidemic. To me, it ain't even close to the Wire big time.
Yeah, I agree, man. This is not even a debate. Um, I'm not gonna lie. Next two questions, we're gonna say the why. If you
Easy.
had to pick one to rewatch in full, which one would you watch and why? The why?
Well, the Wire, man, I'm not gonna lie. Just think about it, bro. I watched the Wire. I binge watched it. Me and you was talking about it behind the scenes. I binge watched the whole series last year in like 2 weeks. And bro, after that, I binge watched it like multiple times. I don't watch The Wire since last summer. The whole 5 seasons in full. I watched it like maybe 3 or 4 times easy. So it's easy to Wire. And I'm not gonna lie, like Snowfall, I just watched it once because I'm not gonna lie. Once I got to the end of season 5, beginning of season 6, you know, it's kind of irked me just to leave like them last like 8 or 9 episodes on watch. So I watched it, but I just kind of bear through it. I couldn't even stand to really watch like that last season with Kane and Jerome and Louis and them at war. I couldn't even stand that last season of Snowfall, to be honest with you. So that's easy to Wire. And like you said, the last question, the bet, which show was the better of the two crime dramas? The Wire, Snowfall.
The
The
why,
Wire
man.
here
It gives you in depth of the police force in Baltimore and then detective work in Baltimore, and then you get to see the inner workings of you know um, a drug empire in the hood with Avon Barksdale and Prop Joe
the
with the
bell.
connection, Stringer Bell, Marlowe. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
yeah, man, come on. What else? What else do you want?
and then
It's
later
the
on
wire.
you get to the you get to the stand down chicks and the urban Burrells and the Bunny Cole ones and you get all
The
the cops.
politics on the docks, in
Yep,
the
and then you get to the docks,
yeah,
and then you get stand
Sabakas.
down check, Val check with Frank Sabaka. They two beefing over a glass one in the church. You know what I'm saying? Then you get to Bondus and the Greek. And hey, bro, it's easy to Wire. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and a lot of people think, well, both of y'all are two Wire fans. Why would you? Well, there's a lot of people that may want to sit down and may have a choice between the Wire and Snowfall and want to know which one to watch because they haven't watched it before, or maybe a younger viewer. We're
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
the Wire. The Wire is better.
No,
Trust us.
because behind the scenes, I'm trying to get my cousin King Ray. He rave about how good Snowfall is. I know he probably gonna still choose Snowfall, but I'm trying to get him to watch The Wire, and so he can compare the two. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, keep trying to tell them, man, the Wire is where it's at. Snowfall is
Yeah,
straight. It's straight.
big
It's
time.
good. But I ain't touching the wire.
Not even close, bro.
All right,
But
I'm gonna
yeah,
give it back to you to wrap everything up, bro.
yeah,
That's all the questions.
but that concludes our debate: The Wire versus Snowfall. If the law says the same and everything works out and all of our schedules match up, next week Saturday, next Saturday at 10 o'clock, 10:30 a.m. We're gonna try to do episode 11, season 1 of our Wire analysis, our Wire breakdown with myself, our good brother, the General, 7 8 Sports TV, my brother Jared 11 Green. So, hopefully we could get that off the ground next Saturday. But we appreciate everybody that came through and showed some love. Adrian Crook, my brother Jaguar Nation, Jay Barr,
Yes, sir.
Autism Boy Cottage 81,
Appreciate you,
and our
autism
good
boy.
LDBC brother. I always stand on LDBC business,
Big
brother
Joe.
Big Joe Townsend. And we appreciate everybody that came through and showed some love. We getting ready immediately following this show. We're gonna go over to my brother Jared Loving Green channel, and we're gonna have a early edition of the Southern Baller Show since tomorrow is Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to everybody, all the fathers within the Sound of My Week voice. I just want y'all to know, especially those fathers that's out there handling business, taking care of business. You are valued. You are greatly
Yes,
appreciated.
sir.
Happy Father's Day to y'all, and y'all have a blessed and phenomenal evening. And y'all come over to my brother Jared Loving Green channel for our next edition of the Southern Baller Show. We're gonna catch y'all in a few minutes. Peace and blessings to y'all. Come over and go Jags, you dig?
Y'all be blessed.